week one of the fantasy football season, and here's the top 36 running backs I'm ranking this week. Number one, Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. So I know it's a tough matchup versus the New York Jets here in week one. I know McCaffrey's banged up with the calf injury going into training camp, but he was the number one player off the board in most fantasy drafts, and he's matchup proof, so I got him at one. Number two, Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. So Bijan, he was a top back taken in fantasy drafts as well. This week, I like his matchup better than Breece Hall. And I think versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though they're a solid defense for the most part over the last few seasons, Bijan Robinson could go out there and have a good game. And his stats are definitely going to improve with Kirk Cousins at quarterback this season than Desmond Ridder. Number three, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. So Jahmyr Gibbs, you don't need a lot of work to put up big numbers. And this week, a decent matchup versus the Los Angeles Rams, where their defense is vulnerable to giving up points over the last few seasons, especially Aaron Donald retired now. And Gibbs, he's a hybrid type of back, and indoors at home, I expect Gibbs to go out there once again, have a big game. Number four, Breece Hall with the New York Jets. Great season, no doubt about it, last season with Zach Wilson on the center. Hall still went out there and put up some big numbers. But this week, like I said, a very tough matchup at the San Francisco 49ers, one of the better defenses in all pro football. And this week, Hall on workload and his catching ability out of the backfield, I still believe he puts in a ball game. Number five, Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this Eagle team playing in Brazil this week, and it's Saquon Barkley's debut as a Philadelphia Eagle. So Saquon, I think this season could be one of the best of his NFL career. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed, but this Green Bay defense really isn't that good, and they've won a lot of shootout games over the last couple of seasons. So this week, I think Saquon goes out there and has a good performance. Number six, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. So Jonathan Taylor, good division matchup with Houston Texans coming to town. I believe this will be a high-scoring game. The only thing with Taylor, he's going to get vultured, I think, at the goal line a lot this season by Anthony Richardson. But Taylor's still a three-down back. It's tough to find those nowadays. And I believe he goes out there and has a good performance. Number seven, Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins. I know I'm higher on Achane than most people will preseason and now coming into the regular season. But Achane last season, almost 8 yards per carry. I believe his workload is going to go up a little bit more this season, where it was 60-40 Raheem Mostert's favor. And if Achane, like I've said in other videos, was a bigger framed running back, he'll be one of the best, if not the best running back in all the leagues. Tweak with a good matchup versus Jacksonville. I think he goes out there and has a good game. Number eight, Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans. So his debut as a Houston Texan after many seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think this is going to be a shootout, like I mentioned. So at Indianapolis, indoor ball game, Joe Mixon, solid running back, over 50 catches last season. And obviously this Indianapolis team, they got to worry about those big three receivers and Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell over there. So I think Mixon's a great option this week. Number nine, Josh Jacobs of the Green Bay Packers. So this ball game in Brazil, Josh Jacobs got the big contract in the offseason. And right now, there's no reason for a committee or anything where A.J. Dillon, if he was healthy, even though he's out for the season, I think would have got some work. Marshawn Lloyd, not 100%. And I know it's a tougher match for Philadelphia, where they're tough in the trenches, but Josh Jacobs going to get a full workload. We saw a great season from him 2 years ago. I know last season was a down year, but this week with his workload and his upside, I have him at 9. Number 10, James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. I like the matchup a lot for James Cook in this Bill team, with Arizona gives up a lot of points to running backs over the last few seasons. I believe this is going to be a shootout between these two teams in week one at Buffalo. And James Cook, he could catch the football out of the backfield good as well. So this week, I think he has a good performance. Number 11, Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Etienne, he's been a solid running back the last couple of years for fantasy owners in this Jacksonville Jaguar team. And this week in a potential shootout as well at the Miami Dolphins, where Etienne could catch the football out of the backfield. He proved he's good in between the tackles, and there's not much competition for someone to take touches from him. This season, he's anywhere from a top 11 to 15 running back range. Number 12, Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens. So Derrick Henry, it's a tough matchup on paper, but let's say Henry gets 80 total yards and a touchdown. He's still going to put in a good performance. This is going to be a grinded out type of ball game versus two of the top teams in the AFC, in my opinion, with the Ravens and the Chiefs. And Derrick Henry, we know he's a bull. I know he's at the latter part of his career and he could definitely be on the decline, but this week, in a grinded out running type of ball game, I like him having a decent performance. 13, Kyren Williams Los Angeles Rams. I know Kyron's going to be returning punts, and Blake Corum possibly could get some work, but I think we're going to see that a little bit more down the line this season. So Kyron Williams last season, what a year it was for him. A lot of fantasy owners won championships with Kyron Williams on their roster. And this week, in a pretty good matchup with the Detroit Lions, where I think this is going to be a high-scoring game in this playoff rematch. And we know this Ram offense is one of the better offenses overall in the league. I like Kyron having a good week. Number 14, Rachaad White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Rachaad White, one of the better receiving backs in all pro football. And this week, a pretty good matchup versus the Commanders, even though I know they made some upgrades on defense as Washington, and also at the head coaching position. And Quinn, we know, is a defensive-minded coach, and he's going to have these guys go out there and play good defense. But Rachaad White catching the football out of the backfield. Bucky Irvin not really a threat to get a lot of work. I think White has a good ball game. 15, Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Pacheco, I'm down on him this week. It's a tough matchup versus the Baltimore Ravens. Also, Samaje Perine, he got brought in by this Kansas City Chiefs team. I think he's going to get some work in this offense. And we saw last season, Jerick McKinnon had a decent amount of touches as well last year, where this season no one even signed Jerick McKinnon. So this week with a tough matchup, and now with Perine in the picture a little bit, I'm a little bit down on Pacheco. 16, Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. And Kamara, what a season it was last year in terms of catching the football, but in between the tackles and goal line work, I think could be a problem for him as the season goes on. But this week, a very good matchup versus the Carolina Panthers, where they really can't stop anyone. So Alvin Kamara, I think he goes out there, he has a good ball game. Number 17, Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Seahawks. So Kenneth Walker, he's been a decent running back the first couple seasons in the NFL. And this week, a pretty good matchup versus the Denver Broncos, where they're vulnerable versus the running. Kenneth Walker, I don't think Zach Charbonnet is really a threat to his job in the backfield. So Kenneth Walker, I think possibly this could be the year where we see the big breakout. His rookie season, I thought we were going to see that breakout in his second season last year, but it didn't happen. But now with a new offense and everyone healthy, maybe Walker breaks out in a big way. 18, Aaron Jones of the Minnesota Vikings. So coming into the year, I don't like Aaron Jones, but this week a good matchup versus the New York Giants. And we know this Minnesota team, if it's going to be a close game, they're going to pound the rock a lot. They don't want Sam Darnold throwing the football 30, 35 times this season in any game. So this week with a game at New York where it's going to be a close scoring ball game and two similar teams going at it, I think Aaron Jones is an RB2 option, is solid. Number 19, James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. I don't like Conner really as a start this week, but in terms of workload and someone who's going to get volume, you're just going to have to put him in your lineup as an RB2 option. But like I said, Buffalo's defense, I know on paper doesn't look great, but they're still good versus the run. And if this game gets out of hand, which possibly it can, then James Conner, I don't see doing much, especially with offensive weapons like Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride in this lineup. So this week, James Conner, I don't like the matchup, like I said, but on volume, he's still a back-end RB2 option. 20, Raheem Mostert of the Miami Dolphins. I know I got Achane up there, but Mostert's still going to get his work in short yardage, I believe, in this ball game. And this Jacksonville Jaguar defense just isn't that good, in my opinion. So Raheem Mostert is a back-end RB2 or flex option for fantasy owners in a decent matchup. Jacksonville coming to town. I think he still goes out there, has a decent performance. 21, Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. So Stevenson got a nice contract extension heading into training camp. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. And this week, I know it's going to be a tougher matchup with Cincinnati, where they could be down early and often is this New England Patriot team. But still, Stevenson, he got him in the 5th, 6th round. I think this week he could make up for some of the yardage he might not get in the backfield if they're down early and often catching the football. 22, David Montgomery of the Detroit Lions. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, his snap count's going to go up this season. His touches are going to go up this season, but I do believe David Montgomery will still get some goal line work and short yardage. Week with a middle of the pack matchup versus the Rams, and like I said, with Jahmyr Gibbs healthy and ready to go, I think Montgomery's a back-end RB2. 23, DeAndre Swift, the Chicago Bears. I just don't know what the role's going to be for DeAndre Swift this season. I know he got a good contract in the offseason. I know Khalil Herbert's there, and I think this team's going to want to pass the football a lot, even with the rookie Caleb Williams. When you got weapons like DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze in that offense, Cole Kmet as well at the tight end position, I don't think they're going to be a run-first team. And this week, it's a pretty tough matchup. Tennessee's been good versus the run over the last few seasons. So Swift's a back-end two-back. 24, Zamir White Las Vegas Raiders. So Whitey looked pretty decent last season, in my opinion, for this Las Vegas Raider team. In the games we saw him, but he's not going to catch the football out of the backfield. This week it's a division matchup at the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think this Charger defense, they're going to load the box, and they're guarding Minshew to try to beat him in this ball game. So this week, Zamir White back 25, Javonte Williams of the Denver Broncos. Javonte Williams, he showed some flashes last season, and now another year off the ACL injury. He's coming in healthy. I know it's a tough matchup with the Seahawks, especially with the 12th man over there in Seattle, but Javonte Williams is going to get workload. Samaje Perine, who's the running back that was going to be a threat to a workload with Jaleel McLaughlin's still there, I know, but he's more of a passing downs back. So Javonte's going to get a lot of touches, and as long as this game don't get out of hand, he's going to get a decent snap count and workload. 26, Brian Robinson of the Washington Commanders. So I think Brian Robinson will have a decent season. I know Austin Eckler's there. We don't know what his role is going to be. But Brian Robinson showed in the second half of the season last year he could be a 3-down back. And this week, not the greatest of matchups at Tampa Bay. He's still going to get a good workload, and I believe he could be a running back that help fantasy owners as a back-end 2 option. 27, Zach Moss of the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe this backfield is going to be a 50-50 split with Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Moss, we saw last season, showed some flashes when Jonathan Taylor was holding out and not 100%. And I believe this week in a good matchup versus New England, Zach Moss could put up some decent numbers. 28, Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So his ceiling isn't high for Najee Harris, in my opinion, but he's still going to get 15, 20 touches per game. This could be a grinded-out type of game versus the Atlanta Falcons, where we know this Falcon offense definitely improved, but their defense still, I don't think, is all that great, where Najee Harris could get, like I said, that decent workload in this game. But his ceiling, for the most part, is anywhere from 15, 18 fantasy points in PPR leagues. And with Warren banged up as well, and I think his workload is going to get cut in this ball game. I think Harris is an RB3 option. 29, Jaylen Warren, his teammate of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Jaylen Warren, he's not 100%, but he's going to play, and he's been practicing during the week. And we know he's one of the better receiving backs and gadget guys in the NFL. Warren over 50 catches last season. This week in the fast track at Atlanta, if you need a flex option in deeper leagues, I think Warren could be that for fantasy owners. But like I said, the only thing, he's not 100%. Number 30, Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans. So Tony Pollard, I believe early in the season, will be the front runner to get more touches and in between the tackle looks than Tajay Spears. But this week, a tough matchup at the Chicago Bears, where their defense has improved in the offseason, and now they got an offense that actually could give this defense some rest and stay on the field. So this week, Pollard, I don't expect much out of him. Like I said, Soldier Field's a tough place to play. 31, Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Chase Brown, him and Moss are going to be 50-50 split, with Brown being more of the receiving back. And this ball game could get out of hand early, where Cincinnati's off to a big lead and Chase Brown isn't going to be in there much, where, like I said, he's not really an in-between the tackles guy. So right now, with the way the game script might go, Chase Brown is a low-end option. 32, Tajay Spears of the Tennessee Titans. So this game, I think, could be close between the two teams. Tajay Spears, like I said, he's more of a receiving back out of the backfield. And the Chicago Bears, they've been good against the run over the last couple seasons, believe it or not. So this week, I don't see Spears with much upside, even though as the year goes on, I believe he'll have upside. Number 33, Devin Singletary of the New York Giants. I don't think there's much pop with Singletary. I believe Minnesota, in this ball game, they're going to load the box and dare Daniel Jones to try to beat him, where Daniel Jones has been struggling over the last season and change. So Singletary, I know, had a couple big games last season, but that was in an elite offense with the Houston Texans. And with the New York Giants, like I said, I think Minnesota is going to force Daniel Jones to throw. 34, Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns. I like Ford overall this season, but this week a very tough matchup with the Dallas Cowboys coming to town, where they've been one of the best run-stopping defenses over the last few seasons, and top 6 last year in stopping the run. So Jerome Ford last year definitely showed flashes when Chubb went down with injury. He's got that burst and breakaway speed, no doubt about it. But like I said, I think this Cowboy team, they're going to want to try to make it a one-dimensional type of game, stop the run, and let's see if Deshaun Watson could try to beat him in this one, where he struggled the last couple seasons. 35, Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. So Chuba Hubbard, he's had some decent games last season. And obviously the starter going into the year now with Jonathan Brooks, the PUP list now for the first 4 games of the season. So Hubbard, he could catch the football out of the backfield, which is a good thing. Even if Carolina is trailing, he's going to get a lot of touches one way or the other. But like I said, the ceiling might be low in this one where this offense doesn't have a high ceiling, even though they've definitely improved from last season, adding Deontay Johnson in a trade and Xavier Legette drafting in the NFL draft and the 36th and final back rankings. Rico Dowdle with the Dallas Cowboys. So Rico Dowdle, reports have come out, he's most likely going to be a favorite to get touches. I still believe Zeke Elliott is going to get work, maybe 60-40, 50-50 split with Elliott getting short yardage and the early down work. That'll be in a running back, I believe, that he'll get his drives and Zeke will get some of his drives with more of the short yardage, with Dowdle being a better pass catcher out of the backfield. And even last season at times, I believe Rico Dowdle was more impressive than Tony Pollard sometimes. I believe even this week it's a tough matchup at the Cleveland Browns, but Rico Dowdle in a high-powered Cowboy offense, I think could show some flashes and put up back-end numbers. That's the top 36 running backs I'm ranking for week 1 of the fantasy football season.